Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings I bring from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I'm excited. I'm not getting any toys for Christmas, no. But I'm here today hoping that everyone is well and looking forward to a joyous Christmas holiday. This virus is going crazy, and I don't know what it is that people don't understand, that this is a problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be festive with my colors, since all my decorations in my home for the venue are not all up and ready yet. So this is my red and white for Christmas and blue, red, and white for Delta. Merry Christmas, all my sorors. But if you know some folks that have not had the shot, they need to get vaccinated. What is wrong with people? This is not a joke. This is real. You know, I was going to have people over, to a few relatives, to come and have dinner with me. And then I said, I don't know if I'm having anybody come over. I don't know if that's happening or not, because now it's a little scary, you know, and even people that have had the shot, that you can still get COVID. I'm trying to do a little hookup here, get get everything ready. Just give me a second. It's one of those days. But you know, I'm going to get it straight in just a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm good. Hold up. Now we're going to go over here. So, Omicron, a variant. Omicron, Pi, Rho, Sigma, Tau, Epsilon, Phi, Chi, Psi, Omega, DST. That's what I'm talking about. You know, so if you have relatives that need to get the shot, take them to get the shot. This is not a joke. You know, we're getting ready to be locked down again, go through all this madness again. And right at the holidays, when we were just getting ready to feel a little joy. So, as you know, I put a little promotion out earlier today that tonight I have one of my lifelong friends as my guest on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner this evening. And that's none other than, well, let me tell you a little bit more about it before I got to build him up to bring him on. We met each other at church, in the choir together, West Chestnut Street Baptist Church. My last memory of us hanging out as teenagers was my Sweet 16 birthday party, where Bugs really didn't want to be bothered with anybody. And, you know, he was fine. You know, everybody could be in one room dancing and sweating, and Bugs was sitting in another room checking everybody out, being very, very suave bolo, even then. So I shall not delay. I'd like to present to some and introduce to others my friend, my brother, Mr. Dr. Reverend Robert Bugs Wilkins. What's up, my brother?
All right.
I am so excited to have you, man.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a story to tell us.
Uh-oh.
So how's the family, number one?
Everybody is doing very well. Very well. My whole crew is fine.
And right before we came on, I heard you say something that you couldn't stand the Warriors. You got to be joking me and live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I got a problem. Well, first of all, I'm all Laker all the time.
Oh, and I'm a Laker hater.
Okay, so that levels everything out.
There it is, huh?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Different strokes for different folks. Tell
yeah.
me something. Now, how did you get to the Bay Area? Let's start there.
Okay. I've been here now, which is amazing. I've been here all going on 25 years. I lived,
Okay.
yeah, I lived in LA for 29 years. I was a nonprofit executive
Okay.
for the YMCA. I was
Okay.
running the largest YMCA in Los Angeles, and got a call one day from, interestingly enough, my boss. And he said, some people have contacted me and they'd like to talk to you about a position in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And I was like, should I be inspired by this, or should I be
Am I getting
wondering
fired?
what's going on? Usually your boss doesn't call you and say, hey, I'm okay with people recruiting you.
Okay.
So anyway, they had a position available in the Bay Area. The president and CEO of the Bay Area corporate YMCA that has
Okay.
the various branches and so forth. And because the area we're headquartered in Oakland, and Oakland very much a chocolate city at that point, and they had
Absolutely.
a lot of African American executives and wanted to increase that. That was one thing, in addition to the fact that I was well known as a pretty decent executive. And so they recruited me for it. I was doing fine in Los Angeles, doing very, very well in LA. I turned down the job twice.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and it was real funny. The first time I turned it down, the chairman of the board of the Y up here called me and he said, the board declines to accept your decision. I was like,
What?
how do you do that? I said, no.
They said no. You can't not accept.
Absolutely. And it was a brother, and ultimately he ended up in Los Angeles. He called me, and he was in LA, and he was like, let me talk to you one more time. So it turned out that was the right thing for me to do. So I went ahead and came, and been here for almost 25 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're married with how many kids?
4.
4 kids.
Yeah, I have 3 biological kids. One, my oldest, is an adopted
Okay. All right.
young man.
And you got grandbabies.
7.
Man, look, every time I look at you, I'm saying, Bug's got all these kids and these grandbabies. I'm trying to say, is that the same person that I knew?
Yes.
And yes,
Yes.
you are.
Yeah.
So
I got some in every age group. My oldest grandson is 25. My youngest grandchild is 5. She's a girl. So they're 25, 19, 16, 13, 9, 7, and 5.
Good boy, look at you knowing them numbers. Got it down.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, Bugs, you've traveled a road. I've always looked at you. I say to myself, and I told my husband, I said, I do believe that Bugs was the first intellectual friend that I had. That there was a sophistication about you. There was a, the je ne sais quoi and the savoir faire that was going on with you when you were like 12 and 13, which was, we used to have some conversations just as teenagers. I mean, we weren't even teenagers. We were adolescents.
Right.
I remember just having conversations about things that were very adult-like.
Right.
And you're probably one of my friends that makes me understand why as a girl, I always felt it was not unusual to have a best friend who was a boy,
Yeah.
because you and I were like, this man,
Yeah.
and we sat and talked, and it was, I mean, there might have been some sparks flying, but we didn't go there. We went to conversation, and
Right.
it was very adult-like.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think about that. So when I got older, I kept saying, I tell girls a lot of times, even before I pledged in the sorority, I said I didn't hang out with girls. I
Right.
hung out with boys.
Yep.
Because I found out that they could be your friend. They didn't have to
Right.
be your boyfriend, but they could just be your friend.
Right. Right. That's interesting. That's interesting that you say that, because I feel the same way, and still to this day, my best friend, and my wife knew it, was a woman. And interestingly enough, her best friend was a guy, and never the thought of anything other than that's my friend. And didn't have to be burdened with all of the other stuff. Now, that's not to be misunderstood to say, wait a minute, something,
there was an attraction.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you that is an attraction.
That is the attraction.
That was the attraction. And it is like, it's a wow kind of thing.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm so excited today because it's still kind of like that to me.
Yeah,
because even all the things that that I've done, and all the things that I don't know that you've done. So today, I want to find out. I want to find out how we got to Doctor, we got to Rev. How did Bugs get there?
Yeah. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Always, let's start with the Reverend and the Doctor are attached to each other. If you recall, when we were at West Chestnut, I was a little ursher, and I was often picked to make announcements for us, for the youth, and all of that. And you recall we had 3 speaking areas: the middle, where Reverend Offord was all the time, and then the little one on the right, and that was where we would speak from. And I remember one time I made some little announcement from there, and I was walking down that aisle, which seemed so long when we were little, and there was a lady that sat about halfway down that aisle. And I remember one day I went past her, and she leaned over to me and said, "Go on, be a preacher, boy." And I was like, yeah, right. Stick with that.
It sounded like it could have been Miss Hughes. Polly used to sit on the end.
Yes. It was a lady. Her name was Jones. I found out she was a little dark-skinned lady that wasn't really involved in the church hierarchy and stuff like that. She was one of them ones that would just slip in from the neighborhood or wherever she was, and she was right there, and she would always be cheering for me. And she said that. So when the time came in my life when and I was not thinking about going to church at the time, that lady's face came to me. And anyway, I was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff.
You were living life.
I was living life fully and completely. And I knew, though, that the life that I had chosen at that point wasn't sustainable. And so the idea, you don't just jump from that life into and decide, hey, I think I'm going to go into ministry and so forth and so on. But it calls you out of those circumstances. And so when the idea began to cross my mind, I had a history. We had strong history and strong upbringing in West Chestnut. You and I were talking about that the other day. The great Reverend Offord, he was all of that. We didn't even know it, but he was a big deal. So I had the training, and I did stand up in those pulpits a lot. And so the idea wasn't totally and completely far-fetched for me, but still something that I resisted, because even though I was doing some things that could have landed me way, way, way off the deep end, I knew that you didn't play with ministry and so forth. So I wasn't running there for safe harbor and like, okay, I can hide from the police and whoever else behind the cloth. It's like, you don't play with that. So I had to think that through. And I also resisted it because my impression was that, you had to be a little bit too Mr. Goody Two Shoes, even for me. But ultimately, it was clear to me that I was called into ministry to be a warrior, a spiritual and social warrior. And
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful description.
Yeah.
And for you to, and how did that, come on, tell me some more. That's just.
Yeah. Well, I came out of the streets, the streets and the avenues of Hollywood and so forth, because I was deep in at that particular point and doing some things again that were not. I didn't get taught them in Sunday school nor hear about them from the pulpit. I was married and had one daughter at the time. My wife, she's a soldier. She stuck with me, even though I was crazy. Went back to school, finished all of my undergraduate education, and then went on to seminary, to Bible college, seminary, and on and on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Ran into an opportunity to work for the YMCA, which was just perfect for me because my vision for going into ministry and the image that I got of myself was that I would be more like John the Baptist. I'm going out into the wilderness and the highways and the byways.
Okay.
Didn't see myself pastoring a church. I don't have that kind of patience, and I don't have that kind of diplomacy. And so I saw myself as being out in the street. And I remember once during that whole process, the Spirit, as I said, I saw myself as a spiritual and social warrior. And I remember I heard the Spirit tell me once that, this is going to be an uphill struggle because you've been out there and doing what you do out in the streets and in the corporate offices and the highways and byways, doing deals and so forth and so on. Not all of it honest and upright. And so if you switch over to the other side, the devil knows he got a problem. He gonna have a problem because you got game like him. Yeah. So he's not going to go along with this easily at all. And so I always saw myself going in that direction. So I got all of my credentials and so forth, and got the opportunity to work as an executive in the YMCA, which is a Christian-based organization, but not a church. And so I got a chance to do the social services with people who were in the streets. I got a chance to do advocacy and policy development with policymakers and so forth in behalf of folk in the street. I had credibility with folk in the streets because I had been there and I knew how to talk the talk. Plus, we grew up in Beach Terrace. Hello.
Hello. Duh. Yeah.
Training, got that diploma too. Okay. And so went on and on. Then when I did go into church-based ministry, my first job in ministry was chaplain at University of Southern California, which is where I got my undergraduate degree. Okay. And so that led to a whole bunch of other things. I went to large churches, both in Los Angeles and up here. And I ended up being pastoral assistant in both of those churches for the college age folk and so forth, and practiced what I did in the YMCA and in the nonprofit world as ministry, as public ministry to me.
Okay.
Yeah. and then
Wow.
kept going to school, going to school forever. Because, you know, my mother is fanatic about education.
Yeah.
So I just kept going and going and going until ultimately became a doctor
Received your doctorate. Yeah.
in
Wow.
ethics and social theory.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a different take on it. You know, your path, well, naturally, you know, we don't follow the path that's always laid before like everybody else. You know, you have to find your own path and beat your own drum and make it work, carve out your niche for you. But that's a very enlightening approach that you took, you know, as far as, because being that you knew all about the streets, it was easy for you to deal with people. And that's where the Lord said, you know, he needed to be. That's where he was, amongst the people,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So I remember once I had my aunt that actually brought me to West Chestnut. Once I asked her, well, her daughter said, when are you going to stop singing in those clubs? She says, and come on back to West Chestnut. At that time, I wasn't married. She said, and find you a husband and get married. And my eldest aunt, she says, yeah, well, you do need to get married. She says, I want to bake you a cake. I said, Auntie, bake the cake and put it in the freezer. No. So, but then she said, but I'll come to the club to hear you sing. She said, because that's where you have to go to minister.
Mm-hmm.
And so her daughter hushed, you know, and I was very elated that this was my aunt at that time. She might have been 102.
Wow.
You know, so the outlook that you have, and going back, and we talked about Reverend Alford. I told you I did a concert for the church last Saturday.
Yes.
Not this past Saturday, but Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, I walked in, I wasn't feeling well, but the room was full.
Oh, good.
And it was absolutely beautiful because they were trying to raise funds to fix the roof at the church.
Right.
But I think that's the second time I've ever used my talents at church.
Yeah.
Even though I did sing in the choir growing up. But as far as them coming to say, would you do something for us, for, you know,
Right.
I was very honored to do that. And it turned out absolutely beautiful.
Great.
Oh, but now, Bugs, tell me this. Okay. Now, you're retired in a sense.
In a sense.
In a sense.
Yes.
But now you're doing that. You have a new position. And I was very intrigued when you were telling me about this new position.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to share some of that with me, or let us know what's going on with you now, or we can talk about anything else you want to bring to the forefront, even about what's going on with us socially as Black people.
Yeah.
And the criminal justice. We're going to get to that too.
Okay. Okay. Sure. What I do now, when I retired, I primarily was a consultant. Since I run very large organizations and so forth, I go back and find organizations that need some help kind of sharpening their structure and their strategy and stuff. I'm really a strategy person, so I help organizations, nonprofits, and socially responsible organizations to do that kind of stuff. So I had a client, it's called the International Maritime Center, and I was just lightly volunteering to do some stuff for them, didn't even charge them. But they got to a crisis point where they're, you know, you can tell when their end day is going to be, because they didn't have very much financial resources, nor did they have a constituency that they were working or a strategy for growth. So they decided, they did have a little bit of money, and they decided that they would shoot their wad on trying to get me to come and work for them for a minute. And that was very, very humbling that they would use their resources for me, despite the fact that, it's a lot for them, but quite a small number for me, but I did it anyway. And so now I am the executive director of the International Maritime Center and the director of program for Seafarers Ministry of the Golden Gate. Now, what the International Maritime Center does is provide for the safety and welfare of seafarers. These are the men that operate and maintain these giant cargo ships that are out on the ocean. They are young men from around the world, average age about 27 years old. They go out on these ships for 6 months or so at a time. The maximum that they can be out legally is 8 months at a time. And so when they come into port, they need some relief. They need to get off of the boats, go shopping for things that obviously they can't get on the boats, to have a little bit of a good time, because they're not in port as long as they used to be. These giant cargo ships, now they have containerized those, and most of that stuff is automated. It used to take an average ship about 5 days to unload and get reloaded and move on their way. That takes about at most 2 days now.
Now, these are some of the ships that right today that are sitting out waiting to be unloaded at the ports.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Giant cargo ships. And so they got people in there who are stuck on those boats as well. It's about 26 of them. Average age is about 27 years old. So when they come to port, they need a relief. They need to talk to somebody about how things are going. They need some assistance sending money home, talking to their families and connecting, and so forth and so on. So the International Maritime Center does all of that. On the one hand, that's one piece. That's the direct service in terms of their physical and psychological welfare. The other piece is upholding international maritime laws that are supposed to provide for their safety and well-being, making sure that they get paid, making sure that the ships have all of the amenities and resources that they are supposed to. Like every ship should have a fully staffed medical facility there, up to and including a small operating room, or at least an environment in which, if an operation needed to take place, they could, in fact, do that. Make sure that people are getting paid on time, because you're in a very, very vulnerable position. What if you are out at sea and you're supposed to get paid tomorrow and they don't pay you? What you gonna do? Go home? No.
Yeah. And how do you? And they have to have there has to be some kind of system or mechanism in place where their funds are. They know that their funds are in their accounts and people got access and blah 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 on right. Like that. Okay.
Exactly. Or many of them prefer to get paid in cash, because they want their money, so that when they do get to port, they can go and take that money, do a currency exchange, and then send it to their families immediately. Okay. They don't trust necessarily, and they don't have a good system for doing that aboard ships, because most of the technology on ships at this particular point is not that good, and so the transmissions are not totally and completely reliable. They have until the end of 2023 to everybody meet a standard. But the issue with the standards is who's going to enforce that, and that's where we come in when we do ship visits. We are actually not the inspectors, but there are not enough inspectors. The official inspectors are from the International Transportation Workers Federation in London. I happen to have one of those on my staff. Everybody doesn't, but she's just one person, and we got 70 boats to look at. So for example, when I go on a ship, I visited 3 ships day before yesterday. I casually look around to see, do you have all of the resources that are necessary? Right. One ship, though, did not let me come on at all because of COVID.
Whoa. So,
And
but the other ones, you felt safe going on the other ones, even
oh
with
yeah,
COVID in the air?
yes, yeah. Because
And they got protocols in place for these kids on these ships?
yes, yeah, and it
Is
doesn't
there
do.
does maritime mean something specifically, Robert?
Just means on the water.
Okay.
Maris is the Greek word for water, for sea. Mare,
Okay.
like marine.
Okay.
It's just another form of
Okay.
marine. It just means on the water.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
I just wanted some clarity. So I learn something every time I have conversations with people. And I think this is what I'm supposed to do, is learn something. Because I was thinking every
Yeah.
time.
So yeah,
It sounded like it had some validity to it, as far as this means something specific in
yeah,
regards
yeah,
to something else.
yeah.
But I didn't know what that was.
And it means anything related to oceans and seas.
Okay.
So maritime means of the sea and oceanic tradition.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and
Well, this is
ecosystem.
this is all the way from a different spectrum from where you were. You done took me from A to Z for sure.
Yeah. But it turned out to be very, very interesting, very fascinating. I'm more fascinated with the advocacy piece
Piece
of it,
of it.
because,
Okay.
like what we're doing now, these young men are not being able to get off of the ship, and some people are hiding behind COVID and just not letting them off. And they are staying on there in violation of maritime law. One of the first things that I ask when I get on is, "Hey, young man, well, when did you get on, and where did you get on?" I was on ship the other day, and one young man he got on in Vietnam. He has been to Brazil, Africa, back to Japan, and then here, and is like, ain't no way in the world you can do that in 6 months. So why are you still here? So we
Right.
are expatriating him now. Their next place was Seattle. So I called the people in Seattle and said, we need to get him off of that ship. And in fairness to the shipper, make sure that you've got some licensed seafarers who can get on and take his place, because the crews are very small, and being down one man is very critical.
Right.
And
Right.
so in fairness to them, we make sure that there's somebody, when we expatriate them, we make sure that there's somebody that can take their place. We help them to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, I had no idea. I'm still thinking YMCA. I'm in the C-suite, but I don't know. It's just when you know that you have the capabilities to expand your own horizons.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing. I mean, just like this podcast.
Yes.
This was only because I'm watching us die on television. Okay. And then, they always say, well, it's not time to have the conversation about race. Well, after George Floyd and Sandra Bland and Trayvon, yes, it is.
Yeah.
It was time. I said, so let me facilitate this conversation.
Okay.
Because I ain't afraid to.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? I can't have any fear. I'm a child of the civil rights. I said, I marched in South Louisville in Iroquois Park for open housing in Louisville.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I went to meetings after school at Quinn Chapel up on 9th and Chestnut.
Yep.
And when Dr. King passed away, my mother took me to Atlanta to the funeral. I don't know how many people went to the funeral, but I know I did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what's embedded in me in saying that this cannot persist, we have to find some solutions. Now, where do you see us in your ministry, in your social viewpoint? of where this country is and what we need. What do we need
um,
on a
well,
spiritual level? What do we
well,
need?
yes. Well, to boil it down to a word, but it's got a lot to it. Justice, saith the Lord. We need people to act justly, and we have to hold ourselves, and when I'm talking about us as Black people, hold ourselves to some sort of accountability. That's one of the things that saddens me now. Our infrastructure for accountability, compassionate accountability, and standards amongst ourselves has gotten pretty weak, and no one sees it as their responsibility to put that back in place. When we were growing up, there was folks, and there were standards. I don't care who you were. You could have been cool. You could have been belligerent. You could have even been a delinquent. But there was a way even to be a delinquent back then that had some standards to it. And there were folks that, and an infrastructure in place that held you accountable for meeting the standards. And so forth. So as far as we go, I have some concern about that. As far as the overall system itself, I really believe that we are just seeing things be totally and completely exposed as they are about to fall down, as they are about to fall. Because on the one hand, we do see polarization, we see evil, we see treachery from the system and white folks and so forth and so on. But we've been seeing that a long time. And to me, these they are kicking and screaming at the last showdown, because what they represent cannot stand. It just absolutely simply is not going to stand. And I think that is just necessary stuff that has to happen before. I regret that we are seeing our young people killed and so forth. So I'm not trying to say that that's okay and that's inevitable, or that they are, collateral damage. That's not to be worried about. That's not what I'm saying by a long shot. But I see a new day coming in our lifetimes, for sure. So, but what we need is more leadership, courage, imagination, and persistence are the tools of leadership as far as I'm concerned. Courage, imagination, willingness to believe and see. I mean, that's what faith is all about. Faith is really an unfolding understanding and belief that another life and a better reality is indeed possible, and relentlessly holding on to that and living into that as though it already were.
Living in it into existence.
Exactly.
You got to speak on it as if it were so.
As if it were so.
This is you're absolutely wow.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about that in the because I'm not of the, all they need is a little more Jesus school. That you got to do something. And I preached a sermon the other day out of Luke, and actually it was out of John, and it says there's a passage there that says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds. Look, he is coming with the clouds. Look, he is coming with the clouds." Now, for me, that says that, okay, if he's coming with the clouds, and before that, there is a description of who he is. It is Jesus that we are talking about. And he is the first born of creation, the first begotten of the dead, and the ruler of all of the rulers of, and the head of all the rulers of the earth. And so you say, and then it says, look, he is coming with the clouds. So to me, if it's clouds coming and he's in them, then bring the damn clouds on. Bring them, because he's with the clouds. So
Right.
let's roll. Let's bring these clouds on, because it means that it gives us the clouds give us the opportunity to manifest and that belief that we have about who he is and who we are and what our destiny is, given by God, manifested and testified through Jesus. And if we believe that, and here come clouds, hell, here's the time when I'll show you who I really am.
Wow.
So it's cloud. It's like being, since you like the Warriors, it's like being in clutch in the game, and it's you 5 points down and 13 seconds to go. You think Steph Curry ain't drooling and saying, give me the damn ball, please.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I see. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, really? You're in this, you got you done ramped up your racism, you have tried to ramp up poverty, and so forth and so on. We have a proud and strong heritage of who we are and the stuff that we have persevered through, even, and I'm not talking about, won't invoke Harriet Tubman and all of them, people that we know and in our lifetimes went through
Right.
stuff. We know what to do. And that's why it breaks my heart that has broken down somewhere. And but those
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That was I don't even know. Let me see what I can go get, Robert. We had an extended family,
Mm-hmm.
but we're at the age now that, number one, we're the senior citizen.
Yes.
Okay, so we have lost 2 generations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've lost our parents and our parents' parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I met one of my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I was not fortunate. My mother's parents they died when she was young, so weren't here when I was born. My father's mother passed away. I was 8, and I remember going to her funeral. But here we are now, and the closest fiber that we have, that was the glue for us, that brought all of I don't want to say the heritage, but it brought our culture along the way. The soothsayers that passed the word from great grandmama told mama told mama, my mama.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So now that we've got the foundation that we're built on, but somewhere in that, somebody was playing, what's the game, Jenga?
Uh-huh.
They done pulled one of them blocks out.
Right.
The wrong blocks. And our children don't have the hope and faith of what their lives could be like we had.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
When I moved back to Louisville, I was told that the teenagers felt like they would not live past 18.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
mm-hmm.
what a horrible thought for a child to have.
Right.
And we think about our childhoods. I have rave reviews for mine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anything that was drastic. The things that they go through now, from child abuse to sexual abuse. Not saying that it wasn't happening, but it was not prevalent.
Right.
Especially in a Black community, because we're embedded in church.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's not living in Beecher Terrace. Kids playing 2 courts over. Nobody was worried about their child being 2 courts over.
Right.
I used to go to Baxter now I'm in Cedar Court. I walked to Baxter by myself at
Yeah.
4 and 5 to take dance lessons.
Yep.
Nobody took me.
Right.
I crossed the street. I crossed 11th Street by
11th
myself.
Street. That's right.
Okay. So I'm saying, that fear was not there. We didn't grow up with that.
Yeah.
But now our children are subjected to being afraid to come out of the house. They're, somebody's putting a hit, having one teenager put a hit on another teenager for no reason, but they're doing it because they're scared of the person who's putting the hit out.
Right.
So they're killing. Our kids are killing each other.
Yeah.
They don't see. I don't think they have a whole lot of hope. And parents, I believe they're at a disadvantage now. Working, knowing what the YMCA has always meant to the Black community. What kind of role do you see that it has played, or even can play to a greater extent? Because we're in crisis with the killing.
Yes. I think that the role that it can play is immense, because people have respect for the Y. It is located in so many places, and in many of the right places. But for a period of time, the Y, and what we do have to remember that the YMCA is a white corporate institution.
Okay.
And
Right.
it followed a lot of that, and the institution itself became more important than people. And the way to grow in the YMCA was to build the institution along the metrics that society looked at. How much money did you raise? This, that,
Right.
another, your P&L, and so forth. My rise to influence in the YMCA was because I broke all the rules. I was I was too dumb to fail, was what one person told me. You're too dumb to fail, and I would always ask for forgiveness. For example, I ran the largest single YMCA in the United States, the Ketchum Downtown YMCA on Bunker Hill in Los Angeles. Big glass palace and so forth, and so on. And just like in most downtowns, you've got your downtown business core, and on the periphery, you got some of the poorest people around in places called Skid Row.
Right.
One of the things that I did when I was at the downtown YMCA, I created a program that brought all the brothers from the Skid Row missions into the Y. To help them detox their bodies, because there was, all of the Skid Row missions that would help the dope addicts and the homeless people and so forth. I brought them to the Y, and people would ask me, why did I do that? And you can't do that. And I was like, oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, what do you want me to do? Tell them to go home?
Right. They don't have a home. And the Y used to be a place, it was like you could rent a room at the Y, couldn't you?
You could. We got out of that right after the war. The YMCA was the largest hotel chain, quote unquote, temporary housing in the United States.
Wow.
We had more temporary rooms than anybody before Marriott and Hilton and all of them came along. So I think that the opportunity for us to do is really great. One of the things that we did not do while we were doing the corporate thing was we were not developing the pipeline of talent in communities of concern, like 10th Street YMCA. I remember Tiny Quarles still to this day. And he was, I wanted to be him at one point, because it seemed like he had a cool job. He was an enforcer. He was a counselor. He was a businessman because he wore a little tie and stuff like that. And he was doing some cool stuff, but we did not develop the talent, and we did not value as a community those kinds of jobs, because we went after materialism and those kinds of things ourselves. We do now, however, have the national CEO of the Y is a brother.
Okay.
Yes. Kevin Washington, good brother, comes out of Philadelphia, and he started working in the Y when he was about 14 or 15, cleaning up the locker rooms and stuff.
So he's entrenched in it.
Yeah, and he runs the whole shebang now.
Right.
Very close friend of mine. And so they could be doing those kinds of things, but we lost it. Just like what I was going to say a second ago, when we were talking about what's the status of our kids and so forth. Now, somewhere along the way, everything got derailed, and there's no need to try to figure out what happened, to point blame or whatever. A lot of people say that our kids are lost. Well, kids can only get lost two ways. One, whoever you either left them, or whoever they following is lost. It ain't their fault.
Okay.
Period.
Okay, I got you.
Because little children don't belong running around by themselves.
No, right.
In this context.
Now, children are guided.
Children should be
guided and nurtured.
Yeah. So if they lost, they either got lost following us or we left them.
Oh, wow.
Period.
That's a harsh reality.
That is. And so that's why we got to have some self-check and some compassionate accountability. Again, the issue isn't to blame folk and say it's your fault and shrug your shoulders. It's like, no, we got to dig within ourselves and say, okay, and it falls to those of us who are now elders and figure out how do we get that.
We got to reconnect with them.
We have to reconnect.
Once I said, these people see things going on in the neighborhood, and they standing behind their curtains and they peeking, and it used to be a time somebody would open the door and say, get out that yard. Stop doing that. Stop beating that boy up. You know what I'm saying? But they're afraid. But see, we have to put the fear away, because just because you are afraid and inside your house does not mean they will not come inside your house. That they will not rob you when you come out to get in your car to go to the store. It does not mean that you are safe. Now, if you show when you show care and concern for somebody, that might give you a heads up with that person.
Right.
Somebody who's coming after you and say no.
Right.
Because we showing them some love.
And we understood that what they were saying to us when they would correct us, however much we resented it, was, you are better than that.
All the time.
You are better than that. Right. There's something, your mama and your daddy didn't teach you that. Right. That's not the expectation that your grandmother has of you. Wait a minute, you Emily's daughter. What you doing?
Yes.
I know you all the way down to your roots and the soil you came out of. What? This don't even look right.
Bugs, look, I told on myself once. I knew I was so wrong. I was wrong as $2 bills. I had stayed up and out all night, sitting in front of my girlfriend's house. But when we walked in the house, the sun was up. And we tiptoed. I was spending the night with this girlfriend. That's why I stopped spending the night with friends, because every time I spend the night with somebody, I get in trouble. And she said, my girlfriend, she said, Denny, she said, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. She said, and I'm gonna beat your ass when I get up in the morning, right? And she said, and Janice, I'm calling Emily. Lord have mercy, I couldn't sleep, Bugs. I kept my clothes on. At 9 o'clock, I just got up and went home. I went home, and first thing I did was told my mother what happened. I said, well, Miss Eleanor's gonna call you. Miss Eleanor never called my mother. So I just kind of told on myself.
Yeah.
But after I told on myself, I knew that that's something I wouldn't do again.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we had a fear factor that our children, they're not fearful of anything or anybody anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've made them that way. We have
Like you
to.
say, we left them.
We left them. We
Yeah,
have to.
okay.
We have to own that and figure out how we re-enter not only with the children but their parents too, because we discombobulated that. I hear people in and around churches talk about kids don't go to church and they don't believe and so forth and so on. I talk to young people, and the reason they don't go to church is because there is such a contradiction between what they understand church is about. They ain't stupid. And the people that are in there doing the exact opposite. And they like, I don't need to go to church to see that.
Right. Right.
I can go over to, I'm a Crip. I can go over to Piru territory and check that out.
Right.
I ain't got to do that over there. So it's not because I don't believe in church.
It's just the example is not being said.
It's I don't believe you.
Yeah.
That's why I don't go to your church. I don't believe you.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. So a lot of that has to go to us, and we got off track in the midst of everybody else. The world is so far off track.
It went off the rails,
and we went with folk. I need to do something really quickly. I'll be right back, but I want you to tee up what's going on in Louisville, because I got some specific questions to ask. I'll be back in 40 seconds.
Okay, 40 seconds. What?
I slipped.
Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this conversation now that Bugs come back. I don't know if he knows me. I usually only stay on an hour, but if he wants to talk longer, we'll talk longer, because it's easy to have a conversation when you're having a conversation about something. When you're talking about something, it's easy to continue to talk. When there's nothing to talk about, then you just take up space. I'm not into taking up space. I'm only taking up space right now because he left the camera and he's coming back. But what I want to say is this week is we're coming upon Christmas, the birth of Christ. And I think we need to be joyful in that, and we need to come back to our roots and be more Christian-like and do unto others as we have them do unto us. And just in the spirit of Christmas, be the Christians that we want to be or that we are. And so Brother Bugs is back. Yes. So what did you want to ask me?
Okay. I wanted to ask, well, first of all, I wanted to commend you on your show. The overall concept is brilliant. Guess who's coming to dinner? Love that. And this segment, Home for the Holidays, so perfect. That is so cool.
Did you like that?
Yes, I loved it. I love it. And this is absolutely the kind of conversation that we'd have if I was home for the holidays.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I really appreciate that, since I am not home for the holidays. Now, let's talk about, where we both came into this world, and that's Beecher Terrace.
Okay.
What the heck happened and is happening and is going to happen with Beecher Terrace? I was there several years ago right when they were getting ready to implement that, and working with, I can't remember the sister's name. She's there at St. Peter United Church of
St. Peter Claver?
Not St. Peter Claver. It's on right there on Jefferson. Isn't it the name?
Oh, Dr. Ferguson?
Yeah.
Dr. James Adam Ferguson.
James Adam Ferguson, yes.
Okay.
I was there. I work with some people in that denomination. The brother who is the head of their building and loan fund. He's in New York. And so I came down there. I was doing some consulting with them, and she was telling me what the game plan was, that they were going to level Beecher Terrace, bring in some new housing and so forth and so on, some economic development on that corner where she is. And I think that they've moved forward.
They built in there that's up and going. It's called the Villages at West Jefferson.
Yes. The folk who financed that's who I was working with. But the notion that the people who were there still left in Beecher Terrace would have first dibs on housing once it was made section by section. The last time that I was there, which was about a year and a half ago, that didn't look to be taking place. So
it has taken place. I'm going to say they've moved back in. The ones that were living in Beecher Terrace, that they moved out. I don't know what percentage of them have moved back in.
Okay.
But 9th to 10th and 10th to 11th.
Okay.
Are finished.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
And they are occupied.
Okay.
Okay, they're still working on, so 11th to 12th is, okay, Baxter is still the only property in that block. 12th to 13th is still empty.
Okay.
Okay, but the philosophy is that it's mixed housing.
Right.
I don't know how that's working. I'm just looking to see, because I'm actually on the outside looking in. I'm looking at the exterior, are cars parked any kind of way? Is it the same thing, just new building? Okay, because the one thing that maybe my Beecher Tracians and I sent them the promo, because there's a group called the Beecher, I say Terrians, but they say Terracians.
Okay.
Once a year we get together. But now we got different groups of Beecher-Terrians. Because we got old schoolers that are night and day to me from new schoolers. Now you talking about old schools, you talking about 1940, born in 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Maybe, right? 65. Right before urban renewal. Those are the OG Beecher-Terrians to me. And those are the Beecher-Terrians that are now the senior citizens.
Right.
Okay, the Gatewoods, the Rices. I'm trying to think of who else was up in Beecher-Terrians. Bill Price, the Wilkins, the Johnsons, the Talbers.
Laniers.
Huh?
The Laniers.
The Laniers, Mike Lanier.
Mike Lanier.
What's who was George Jr.? Oh Lord, I can't think of George. Fitzgeralds. Okay, the Fitzgeralds. And then we have some of the families that lived over by the park. Not the Seal, but the actual 10th Street Park.
Yeah.
But when they have a reunion, the reunions now, they seem to be more of the 1960s through the 80s.
Okay.
And so when I went to the last one that I went to, I didn't know many of those people at all. But when I went to Bill Price's brother's house, I saw, Lee Wells. I saw, Toots. I saw Evelyn Clark. You remember Evelyn and Cliff Clark and Margaret Hayes and Charlie Rice. Charlie Rice passed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's got a son now that's he's an artist. He has a gallery on 4th Street. He's fabulous. Billy Gatewood is still around. It's a lot of old schoolers that are Beecher-Terrians that are still in our midst. But okay. I'm hoping, I don't know how you change. They want that to be something different. If they didn't put some different infrastructure in, you understand? It's just another building, but you got to have the same sense of community that we have.
And that was what my question was. That okay? I'm glad to know that that was happening, because I was very dubious about the whole thing when I had been there, and I didn't really see that it wasn't happening fast enough as far as I was concerned. But now
Yeah.
that it is going on, who are the culture keepers, and how are we preserving culture there as well? And is that are there some mechanisms and some institutions and efforts at work um,
To
in
preserve the culture.
to preserve the culture and move the culture forward? And when I say culture in this sense, I mean more broadly in terms of also economic development and culture, because I caught one of your pieces where you were talking about Old Walnut Street and how
Okay.
that got leveled.
So
And
you saw me having a conversation with Kevin Fields. He's the executive director of Louisville Central Community Center, which is on the corner of 13th and Muhammad Ali.
Okay.
And their building is named Old Walnut Street.
Okay.
They're going to have a black box theater called the Lyric Grand, or the Grand Lyric.
Oh, okay.
You know, taking the names of our movie
Right.
theaters.
Yeah.
And that's a program, that's an after school program for I think maybe 7 to 15, 7 to 16. The arts, they do performing. That puts you in mind of what Baxter used to do. Okay. But they do they have GED training. That program does a lot of outreach into the community. It's the heritage of the community,
right?
That because now they call all of that the Russell area.
Yeah.
Okay, that's now, well, see, to us, Russell didn't start to 15th
right.
Street.
Right.
15th Street was the beginning of, and I didn't know that it was necessarily called the Russell area, but Russell Junior High School was there.
Was down there, yeah, and that's you had to live there to be, that was your home territory.
Right.
Yeah, when I came down there and was working with them, and they were like, "This is the Russell area." I'm like, "What you talking about? This is Beachy Terrace, man." Yeah, well, the Russell, and they gave me all of these documents. I'm like, Russell area? That's the first time I had ever heard anybody call it the Russell area. I mean, okay, maybe
so like from 9th Street on up is Russell.
Yeah, that's what I just discovered. I was like, well, right here when we were at that place on Jefferson, I'm like, this is SC Taylor, if you're gonna name it
right.
It's SC Taylor area, but not no Russell.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Yeah, but I'm hoping the economic stability of our Black community, period.
Yeah.
I'd have to say, I don't know. This is just my opinion. It's up in the air. We've got an urban league that's doing wonderful things. Built a facility down on 30th and Muhammad Ali. It's an indoor track.
Yes.
Learning computer facility that can hold events aside from track meets, indoor, outdoor. It's what do you want to say when you got usable space? It's that kind of facility that the community got behind to help it come to fruition. But my thing is, a lot of people have a lot of different ideas. I'm one of them.
Yes.
But in order that to me, as a community, as a Black community, and some people can agree or disagree. That's your business. That's your right. But my feeling is that we need to come together to speak more with one voice than we do. Because there's one piece of pie that everybody needs a piece of, especially Blacks, in order to support any any programs, any structures. We go to the same well to get fed, to get the water. And so if everybody got behind the sports complex, then who's got the next best idea that will do 2 and 3 things? Bring economy to the West, to enhance the lifestyle of the community. You know, I don't see streets being cleaned anymore. Our streets used to get cleaned once a week, didn't they? Okay. That whoever's got the next best idea, then get behind them and let that person go get all the money. Okay. Right. Let them get all the money, however long it takes. It seemed like that building was put up. They said it took 3 years. I think it was supposed to take 4 years. She got it done in 3. Okay. But next, something else should have already been out there on the place. But everybody can't be first. You know, right. Everybody wants to lead. Yeah. So when we come together and say, and when we speak with one voice, just like now, my biggest quirk right now is we're ready to have elections for mayor. Yes. That was my final question. Okay. Go ahead. We got a sister and a brother running. We got a white gentleman running, and we've got one Republican running. Now, Mayor Fisher, when he ran for office, I helped run the headquarters down on 24th and Broadway. He got 6,000 votes out of the West. All those black votes, he got them. Now, I want to see if I can make this happen, but I'd love to have the pastor, Tim Finley, who's running for mayor, and the activist, Shamika, Wright, to come on. And all I want to know is how neither one of them can win if they both run. Got me? If we got 6,000 black votes that you absolutely need outside of the white votes in the community, because they do get to vote. Okay. But if you wanted a black mayor, only one of them can run, because if they both run, they're splitting up the ticket. One of them going to get 3,000, the other get 3,000. That person in the middle is going to get that 51%. And it's not going to be either one of them. So my thing is sit down and have a conversation with each other. What's important? This city right now, we've made inroads. Bugs, I'm going to keep calling them. Folks don't know that's my buddy Bugs. I'm talking to Bugs. Right now, there are about 10 to 12 blacks that are in the C-suite. The head of President, CEO, MSD, President, CEO, Louisville Tourism, President and CEO, Louisville Fund for the Arts. Sister just became the President and CEO at Muhammad Ali. Yes. We've got a sister that's the president of the Rotary Club. Yes. Did you hear me? Yes. The Rotary Club. Yeah. We've got a sister that's over Metro United Way. We've got people we've got Sadiqa, Urban League. Right. Okay. So if I keep thinking, okay, we've got a sister that's the editor at the Courier Journal. Right. Somebody else just got a position. Oh, I can't think of it. I try to keep up with all this because I try to get them on my show first. Yeah. Well, I see them because I read I get the Courier Journal every day. Yeah. Oh, wow. Still. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Cool. So cool. I read that, and that's what I see, and that was what my last question for you was. Look at me, I'm flipping the script. I see.
Yeah, but yeah, and so what are we doing with that opportunity? And what you said, if those two mayoral candidates don't believe it, go back and replay the Boston mayorship this past election. The two sisters canceled each other out, and the Asian sister, and she's okay, but that we had that opportunity right there, right in front of us, and they
Because
start.
everybody wants to be first, or everybody wants to be the chief. We can't. You got to have some other counterparts. Jack don't like for me to talk about Indians and chiefs and Indians. So
Yeah,
I say, but everybody can't run it. Everybody can't, but everybody can have a say in it.
yes.
We can all say, this is what I think. This, then we come together and we form what it is that we want to put out there. Yeah. But if we don't do it in some kind of uniform way, we'll always be scattered or fractured. Our vote gets fractured.
So who are the voices? What is the mechanism whereby that conversation is had in a very honest and sincere and actionable way, so that something does in fact happen? Is it you? Is it you and Jack?
Well, I'm gonna stick my foot in it.
Yeah, and so that because we have those opportunities that are popping up, and absolutely, if they pass by on this round, absolutely, everybody gonna throw up and say, because wait a minute, they had their chance.
Yes.
Yes. And so what don't come to us, or don't keep, saying you're left out in this and that, because we have a very significant opportunity. And I would say that the proverbial they, are relying on the fact that we'll probably do what we always have done. And then they can wipe their hands clean and say, you had the MSD, you had the RTD, the PDQ,
and have they pulled together?
Exactly.
Because that should be the nucleus of the voice.
Mm-hmm.
That should be the nucleus of the voice that we're hearing saying, we are in this position. We are running things in this city. So why is it that we can run it, but we still need an overseer? Excuse me. I didn't say that, but I did.
But some in some ways, though, and this is important too, they need cover, and they need to know that if they stick their neck out, you got their back, that there is a uniform that got my back.
Well, I can't say that we've got that kind of unity.
Yeah, but they need that too. Well,
and they do. I understand what you're saying. I mean, but if they themselves make up a nucleus and have each other's back in that little nucleus, then I'm almost what's my Funkadelics? Free your mind. But anyway, I haven't stepped out there on that, but that is really something that I really want to bring to the forefront, to have a conversation as to, do you understand you can run and you can have billboards all up over the city, but Louisville's very cliquish.
Mm-hmm.
We've always been cliquish, but if we want, we can't play checkers. We know how to play chess. We know. Play chess.
Yeah.
It's all of this is strategic. If we go it individually, everybody going on their own separate way, it's not strategic.
No.
It's not strategic.
No.
And that's not with everyone, the community in mind. If we want to put cover over ourselves and make us feel like now we have a voice in a higher place, okay, then we have to think of it as, can they be the voice for us? But they have to come together in order to say, we both can't win.
Right.
We both can't win.
Right.
We got 6,000 votes that would make us winners.
Yeah.
Greg Fisher won 3 terms.
Yeah. Right. Right.
With them
And
same black folks voting for him every time. We
yeah,
vote for him every time.
one of the questions that I used to get asked to endorse people all the time, and still do up here. And the primary question that I always ask folk, as a matter of fact, got some people going for mayor now, is I ask them, let's pretend the election is November 5th, November 6th. November 6th, the tallies come in, you lost. What are you prepared to do then? What is it that you are committed to doing, win or lose, that you are about on November the 6th? Because I know coming up to November the 5th, I'm gonna do, and I'm your guy, I'm your gal, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you didn't prevail. What is it for the good of the community that you are committed to doing? And you don't have to be elected, because as for me, again, I'm a Baptist preacher. I follow a guy who never got elected to anything, never held a title, didn't have no business cards, but we keep talking about him, and the world ain't never been the same.
Hello.
So, where are you on that spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, if you are really about that, is it that important or necessary that you need to fight somebody else who might be more well suited to do that than you? And if you got all of that, how much more influence could you have if you take all of what you've got, the 3,000, and you hand that over? Then who do you become in that transaction? So,
hey, that makes to me that makes you a bigger player.
exactly.
A much bigger player.
But people don't ask them that question. For me, that's the first question I ask. I heard your platform, and I know what you're going to do. You're going to balance the budget. You're going to stop crime. You're going to get health care. I get all of that. But what you going to do on November the 6th?
The day after.
The day after, when you ain't the one.
Dr. Bugs.
Yes.
I love you.
Love you too.
Stay on for a minute. I'm going to close out my show, and then I got something to say to you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's dinner time somewhere. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Absolutely. Hello, Louisville.
All right. Woo! Look, Buxton took over the show and started asking me questions. Don't you just love it? You never know. You never know. But see, we were talking about something, and we got some other things to talk about. Look, I'm going to let y'all go eat. It is dinner time. It is after dinner time. Bon appetit. See you. Let me say this. This is the last show for 2021. This is the finale. Voila. Enjoy your Christmas holiday. Enjoy your New Year. Bring it in with a bang. Stay safe. Keep your mask on. Get a shot. Do the things that you need to do. The people that need to know what to do, lead them, guide them, give them some words of encouragement and confidence and love. Let somebody know you love them. Check on folks. Got old senior citizens in your family? Check on them. Just call and say hi, just because you thought about them. Bon appetit. Go have dinner.